Hello everyone, this is Alex, and today we're going to talk about instruments combination within the orchestra. So whether you're doing classical music, film scoring, or video game music, understanding instrument combinations is very important when you're writing for the orchestra. When we have so many examples of amazing instrument combinations in the repertoire already. For instance, John Williams in Star Wars used a combination of strings and horns to write the main theme, or Howard Shore for the music for Lord of the Ring to write the ethereal music of the elves. He used a combination of a choir, a celesta, and soft strings with mutes. If we're thinking even before that, Ennio Morricone in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly used a combination of harmonica, guitar, a male choir, and the famous whistling. Now, there's many people that already said that these composers copied what was already done before in classical music. Like in Stravinsky, L'Histoire du Soldat, that's in 1918, a little bit after The Rite of Spring. Well, to represent the soldier scene, we have a violin, a clarinet, and a bassoon. There was the folk-like sound with the violin, the ironic sound with the clarinet, and the nimble kind of sound with the bassoon. So using these different instruments and combinations, even at different times during the piece, is something interesting because you can assign different emotions to a same character with the same theme, but presenting it in different contexts. So that's what composers did before in opera, and that's what composers in film scoring have been doing for the past 50 years or so. So this shows you how important it is to understand instrumental combinations within the orchestra. And the fact that we have the orchestra, which have all of these colors, well, it's an opportunity for you to exploit all of these and use them to your advantage to create a wide palette of expression. So today I'm going to show you a certain piece that I've written myself 10 years ago. It's a piece I've written for the Orchestre de la Francophonie, which was conducted by Jean-Philippe Tremblay. So while I composed this, I was a little bit younger, so I was exploring everything. So that's what's interesting today for me to show you is I did so many different combinations. Sometimes it did work and sometimes it work a little bit less. So today I'm going to show you this example, to show you the good moves that I did before, and to explain along the way maybe how I could do things differently today. Now, before we dive in, make sure you subscribe and make sure you consider joining the channel as a member. Most of the scores that I present in my videos are available to download for my members, and it's a great way to support the channel and to make sure I continue to give you this amazing content. Now let's dive in. Alright, so this is the piece, it's called Au, which means wind. So it's a piece featuring all the winds for the orchestra. I'm explaining this a little bit here. So in this piece we have two flutes, two oboe. The flutes can have the piccolo, the two oboes can have the English horns, two clarinets in B flat, the standard clarinets, two bassoons, standard bassoon, two horns in F, two trumpets in C. So no trombones, no tubas. So this is typical of a smaller scale orchestra that generally plays a little bit older repertoire, maybe early romantic repertoire, classical repertoire. But where I wanted to have fun is with the percussion. So I have timpanis. One percussion is doing all of this nonsense. I'm looking at this today, I'm thinking about the person who would have to carry all of these percussions. And I'm sorry for this person, I was young and very naive. And we have a harp and strings, so quite a small scale orchestra. But still we can do a lot with this, and I'll show you this in a second. So today we won't see the whole piece. I'm thinking about different sections that I want to show you. It's quite a busy piece, and of course it's more in contemporary music style, but still whatever your aesthetic is, we can take a lot out of this. Certainly I can show you certain parts that might help you to understand this idea of instrumental combinations. So let's listen to the excerpt I want to present you today. Okay, so quite a varied moment in the piece, very colorful as well. So let's have a look at the beginning part here, where I think there's already very interesting combinations. So the opening that I showed you, the moment that it begins, is around here. So we already have something interesting. So the violins are divided in two. So we have the upper violins. So only a small group of violins here who are doing this I trill. So this is a G sharp doing a trill on the A sharp, and it's sul ponticello. So it's very kind of thin. A lot of very, very bright sound. And this one is paired, interestingly, with the I bassoon. So the bassoons here are in their very high register. This is the C clef. So this is the I C sharp. So the I C sharp is playing with the high G sharp. That's a 12th above, but a quite interesting combination. And we see that this C sharp is picked up by this oboe here, who's going up in on the higher C sharp, and then D sharp, and then back to C sharp. So we see this kind of movement here. It's kind of part of this, and it's generated from this note here going up here. And actually the oboe here is now getting a lot closer to this higher note here. So we kind of sense that there's a cohesion here. But the fact that this line from the bassoon is just dropping down and disappearing into something else, and also starting up something new here with the clarinet, this very fast movement that's leading to a new chord. It's kind of interesting to see that this event generates a new event, then this one generates a new event that's bringing the next one. So everything is kind of connected, and this is something that I do a lot in my own compositions. And talking about something that is interconnected, we have this I D sharp. That's, if we go down here, this is a D sharp as well in the second violin. We're just doubling this note here. And now, just on a quick note, this part before does a big string section, and suddenly, oh, the string is disappearing. We just have this high note. So this emptiness within the string orchestra that you suddenly can present is very strong. It's very efficient, because suddenly there's almost like 80% of the musicians of the orchestra, they're not playing. So suddenly the most dense sound that you have from the orchestra is disappearing. So it's a very powerful move, and it helps us to listen to maybe more individual lines, like the ones I'm presenting here with the Woodwinds. So we're just gonna listen to this little moment here. Okay, so let's stop here. So I kind of highlighted the important parts here to show you the examples now. So we got this big chord here. If we can see what the chord is actually. So this is F, B flat, C, so kind of a suspended chord. And we have this F sharp. So we're adding in like the equivalent of a G flat, and then the IA here. And we have again here the G flat also. So it's kind of a suspended F major chord that's touching other notes. And it's actually all presented here with the vibraphone. The vibraphone is super interesting here. Let's listen to just this part again. It's acting as like a kind of bell, sound, clong. This is something I really love from the vibraphone. It's a very good way to punctuate your sound with pitch as well. And in its lowest register, it's super beautiful. And pairing it with the harp here, which is super cool, with the brass as well, just gives it this kind of brassy sound. But it's mezzo piano, it's not so hard, but still there's an accent here. So kind of a mezzo forte, going back to mezzo piano, and then diminuendo I really love this effect. We have some pits as well, and with half of the strings is a good way to punctuate. And then other strings that are moving. So don't hesitate to split your strings in two sections this way. But still, there's many layers within this chord, covering kind of a wide register as well. But what we really hear is this higher line, da 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 da, and then it's keep going here, da da dee. It's very lyrical. I mean, I was writing very strange music, but still very lyrical. I'm a big fan of Olivier Messiaen, kind of mystic kind of sound. Now within this melody from the oboe, we have da da dee dee da dam bam bam beam. This is also doop doop. These are punctuated with the flutes. Flutes are both playing staccato notes, and we have harp playing notes. Well, the harp is just playing staccato notes. It's always short notes. And then this violin, if you remember correctly, in the last page it was pizzicato, and we have pizzicato as well. So we're punctuating the long notes from the oboe with little punctuations, with short notes like this. So this is also greatly effective to create a little bit more layers to a melody, maybe create a little bit more of like it's kind of a 3D kind of vision. I feel like you have this long notes, you create a little bit of depth by shaping the sound a little bit more, giving it a little bit more of a 3D kind of effect. Now the next part is super cool. This is something of my favorite part of this piece. This was certainly one of the good moves that I did. Let's just listen to this part here. Okay, so this is the transition to the next part. But yes, this part here, the clarinet and the harp playing together, suddenly this big dense set group of chords that are very strange and leave space for a very free moving line with soloists. So even if we see the rhythm, we have 8 notes and then triplets, and then 8 notes. So the kind of free line here, and it's a solo, and the solo that is doubled with some notes from the vibraphone. So these notes don't necessarily belong together, but it seems like they're going in the same direction. So it's kind of a harmonization, a lower harmonization of the clarinet here. And then we have this very cool fast harp thing. This little glissando is very cool too. Notice that I'm writing the notes from the glissandos. This is just to remind the tuning to the harpist. Whenever there's a glissando, I always write the tuning just to make sure that the tuning is right. Especially in contemporary music, there's not necessarily like always a very clear tonality, so it's not like always obvious exactly the tuning, what should be the tuning. But of course there's a bunch of notes before, so the tuning is kind of implied here, but I always mark it just to make sure that there's no confusions. Now you might think, oh, this is a fast harp pattern, but I really like, I'm a pianist, so this is something I would play on the piano, but it's also very possible on the harp. You have this lower note that's played with the left hand, and then the right hand is playing these notes here, and then you're splitting these notes with the two hands. and then this one is doing another hand. This is actually just one hand doing the glissando, and the major third here is played with the other hand. Now, what's interesting here to me is really the combination between the clarinet, the vibraphone, and then the harp. It's very beautiful and suddenly very exposed after we hear this big mass of sound, and this massive sound that comes back suddenly afterwards. Notice that this mass of sound that's played by the strings, and I said earlier here there's a break with the strings, so we suddenly have this kind of opening, this kind of emptiness in the sound, this kind of a very intimate setting. But yes, this is exactly the same orchestration, so it's really something that disappears and that comes back, and it comes back the same way. So this is good to have a certain character, to give a certain character to your orchestration. Keep using the same patterns, the same way you voice your chords, the same way you divide your chords. Don't suddenly have everybody do these kind of moving parts, because suddenly the density will change and people will wonder, are we going somewhere else? Unless you want to go somewhere else, of course. But yes, I always love, and especially when I was starting out and discovering the orchestra, I always loved these very high trills. So in nature, in sound, the higher harmonics are always, there's always more friction in higher harmonics in whatever sound you're hearing or whatever sound you're playing, because you have a fundamental, and the more you get up within the harmonic series, the more the interval are closer to each other. So if you're thinking like this, where higher register trills, there's always like friction between minor seconds, major seconds. I always found that using high strings like this is a good way to replicate what you hear in the world, what you hear in music, what sound you hear in the world as well. And I'm still using this high harmonic. Actually, harmonics with strings are non-vibrato by default, because you can't vibrato a harmonic. So this is something that I loved for this. It's quite buried within this texture, so I'm not sure like what it would do if we just take it off, but just as something to keep in mind. So anyway, after we got this part with the clarinet, harp, and vibraphone, we go back to our set of chords, and then we got horn. The horn was not the best player in this recording. You might hear da, da, da. Well, we hear a little bit of cracking, a little bit of trills, but you know, I respect horns player, because to me, it's the most difficult instrument of the orchestra. But also, this is a high horn part. It's quite peerless. This is in heard sound, not written sound. So this is pretty much the very high register for the instrument. Something I'm much more careful now, and I'm not sure what I've written a bass clef here. But yeah, be careful with horns. Having them play too high is peerless and can be dangerous. So now this string mass is still going, it's exactly the same. And then we have the English horn that emerged from this. The English horn is just the best. It's the best soloist instrument in the lowest register, in the mid register, I could say. To me, it's got something that really no other instruments has. It really takes a lot of place within this texture, but see that the texture is kind of disappearing. I'm going diminuendo to pianissimo, so you just got these high trills that are still playing, and these hell notes that are dying off with this solo for the English horn. And then we have glissandos here that are going actually to the. Actually, these lines should be going up. This was Sibelius in 2015. It was not doing this thing well, but these are supposed to be highest pitch possible. So this is something you write with triangle like this, the highest string go like this. I just written it just to make sure that the performers will not ask any question. But yeah, this effect of like this is kind of a horror kind of effect. You can also do a trill that's going very high like this. It's very good for horror movies. And this is attacking this with a tam-tam, so kind of opening this middle section of the piece. And also with very low instruments. And I've done a previous version of this piece for a festival before that, and I actually had a contrabassoon, so it was even better. I had this kind of, I had this very noisy low note. So this is a B flat and an E, so already a dissonant sound. And this is an even more dissonant because down here there's cellos and double bass that are divided. I'm not sure where they're divided actually. Yeah, they're divided here because the notes are a little bit different here. And this one's here also doing its own thing. So it's kind of almost improvisation. You know, sometimes classical performers don't like improvisation. So sometimes you have to write something that feels like improv or something that feels a little bit muddy like this. To have this kind of effect, you have to plan it, and it has to be exactly the same. So in that case, you do multiple lines that do these moves and this changing of notes at different times, just to make sure that things are perfectly planned. So yes, the cellos and double bass in the lowest register, they're playing tremolos, they're playing accents, forzando piano, sforzando piano here, sforzando piano, different times. Here they're doing it together, and then they're going all of their separate ways here. You have the horns as well that are doing very, very low notes. So G sharp and F sharp. Again, this is hard sound, so not written sound. So now that we've seen this little part here, let's listen to the part before that that leads into this. So this is the last part of the recordings that I want to show you. It's a new section that really plays with the contrast between low register and high registers. And all of these cascades of sound, always crescendos and leading to like something very, very soft. So this got big tutti here that's leading to almost nothing in the highest register. Something I really like to do. Notice here I'm using the glockenspiel and the harp and forte to really hit the downbeat to really open this new sound. The glockenspiel is a very high-pitched instrument, very brilliant instrument. So you get this, and also the harp in the high register here. And we got the violin that's playing this very high notes. So that's A touch fourth. So that's A heard 2 octaves higher. A touch fourth is basically artificial harmonic. So they're playing a note and they're muffling they're putting their other finger at the distance of a fourth from the first finger. So this creates a higher harmonic. This is something that's usually natural on the instrument with the open strings, but you can simulate it in different places with these 2 actions, this specific action. It creates this very high. But yes, you hear in this part the 2 clarinets that are going crazy. You listen to this and you realize, well, I can write pretty much anything for the clarinets. Yeah, they had a lot of fun. But see that this is mostly scales. So when you write something like this, even if there's chromatism involved. It's very easy for them to do, especially for clarinets. Clarinets are super agile instruments. And see that this starts here, and then there's this crazy thing in the lowest strings that begins, and then there's a new line that comes in. The trumpet comes in, the bassoons comes in, the oboes comes in. So mostly like middle register instruments. Oboes going crazy around here. I'm not sure what it's doing. The trumpet seems like something that about improvisation. The trumpet is basically having fun by itself. Answered by the trombone, the harp, boom, 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 boom. I wanted a part that's just nonsense. We're not sure what's going on. And this is the transition to this more static part afterwards. See, all the strings here are doing tremolo, and I even asked them to put their sardinis. This is mostly for this later part here that I wanted this very fragile kind of concertini sound. But you can also play fortissimo even if you have a sardini. Like mutes are not there to prevent you from playing loud. You can play loud with the instrument, and at least the character can be there. Even with a big string orchestra, you can kind of get the effect as well. But if you're in a situation where you want exactly like right after this very soft sardini sound, then you can do this, it's no problem. But if you see what my strings are doing, this is a general motion, like upward motion. Everybody's going in this direction. And this creates this effect of intensity and of like something that's uplifting. And it's like you're taking off in a plane, and suddenly you're crossing the clouds, and you're in the stratosphere suddenly. Well, it's kind of the effect that I was looking for here to leave empty this region. Actually, the piece is called Owl, which means air. So it's a piece that is inspired by clouds and wind as well. So it's kind of effect that I wanted to recreate here. And this for this beautiful last part, there's only the flutes, which are one of the most Aeolian sound you can have within the orchestra. In this register here, can play soft alongside the very fragile sound of the strings in concertini. I thought this was very interesting, and as well they're playing different kind of rhythm. This is all from different chords as well. Like if you see here, this is the I E, 2 octaves higher. So this is actually an octave lower than this, and we have the C here, it was actually a 6 below, and then we have an A here. So this is just a standard A minor chord. Just the fact that it's so high, we don't really hear it. You have a little bit of friction up here as well. We introduced the D. But yeah, rhythmically, they're all doing something different. And this is, you kind of get this chord that's moving with a little bit of pulsing at different places. It feels unstable, even though it's just like before, the first thing I did was just to write the length of the chords, and then I added in the repeated notes, so you kind of feel this da 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 da, kind of feel this effect as well. So let's again listen to this last part. So what do you think are these combinations of instruments inspiring to you? What combinations have you used in your previous music to depict certain characters, especially if you're doing film scoring? Now, I showed you an example of classical music, but give me some examples of instrumental combinations within the orchestra that you used before. Make sure you leave a comment below. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.